Now we're going to go into our 2-point starts here. 2-point starts are just feet on the ground. 3-point starts are going to be feet, hand on the ground. 4-point start is going to be feet and 2 hands on the ground. I'm only going to go into a 2-point stance right now. So Lang's going to be on the starting line. Setup is really important to make sure we get into the proper positions here, okay? To do the setup here is I'm going to have Lang, he's going to go both toes on the line here. Now to get the distance of that back leg here, he's going to go toe to heel, and then he's going to slide that foot directly underneath his hip, here. So it's not a gigantic step here. It's nice and tight. This is going to be critical so I can start to get the shin angle out of that first leg here. Okay, so now from this position here, front foot is going to stay flat on the ground. All the weight is going to be into that ball of that foot. The heel is going to stay down so we get that stretch reflex here. Okay, front leg is going to have around 65 to 70% of that weight. There still is around that 30% of weight on that back leg here. So Lang's going to get set up here. He's going to go into a quarter squat position here. Weight distribution, 65, 70% of that front leg here. Now, as he does this, start to look at this knee. This knee, because he does want to run this way. He's creating a shin angle going backwards here. So once he presses into the ground, he presses backwards into the ground to jump out of it. If his shin angle, go straight up for me. If his shin angle is straight up, he presses into the ground, he's going to go straight up right now. If he does want it, go ahead and go in that same position. If he is going to race and go forward on this, he's going to do one of two things. He's either going to step back to create an angle to go forward, or he's going to fall forward, roll into it to go forward. So he's going to have a hard time creating force into the ground right away. So have your athlete 2-point stance, slide their foot under, quarter squat position, lean forward, opposite arm forward. Now your arms out of these starts here, instead of being tight here, use this as extra momentum. So he can start to extend his arms here and he can rip them even faster. So we're going to have longer arms out of the start, and then we're going to start to bring them in even tighter here. He's just producing more force. Okay, so get in that stance for me, and we're not going to come out of this. Okay, so I can see I've got a good shin angle here, knee over the toe, heels on the ground here. If he was going to push off into the ground, he's going this way here. I like this setup. Good, relax. The push out of this. Think about this push is like a broad jump. He's pushing into the ground to get his hips to go forward. This is not going to be just a step out and a deceleration. He's got to get his hips out in front like he's pushing into that wall. So if Lang is in that position here, and I would be in front of him here, and he pushes into me, go ahead, go Lang into me, push. Push, extend. His hips they have to get in front of his feet. So it's going to be, he's going to be on that wall, and he's going to be holding that wall iso hold position because I want that hip to come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get him, let's go into a few broad jumps. I don't need him to set a world record, but 2-point stance, arms behind you here, and just jump out. So you can feel of a shooting of your hips here, okay? Just stick the landing nice and soft here, okay? Both arms back for me, and jump. Good, and I like that height right there. Now I can start to see he understands how to use his hips. And this is a great where I potentially would pair up with those overhead med ball throws or even a broad jump throw, get those hips involved here. Okay, let's do one more of those. So you can see set up here. Nice tight stance here, shin angles going forward, even though both arms are going to be back in this broad jump here. From this part right here, he doesn't have any extra motion here. He's putting pressure on the ground, pushing and exploding out. Do one more of those. Okay. and push. Good, relax. Okay, now we're gonna start to put it together. What I'm looking for out of this start here is I'm loaded here. I'm gonna apply pressure both legs here. So even though this leg has the 70% here, I still have power in this back leg. I wanna put pressure, shoot my hips at broad jump out, but as I get out, I wanna get up high, wall, pop, and get back down into the ground as quick as I can. So I do wanna have that knee drive up, but again, for me to run this way, I gotta apply force into the ground as quick as I can. And that's where I want knee up, drive down as quick as we can. So Lane, give me a few starts right now just for 5 yards here. Okay, really, I like to start off saying, can we just worry about that first step. Broad jump out, first step out, and then we'll start to build on to second and third step. Okay, 2-point stance, shin angle here, opposite arm up, and go. Good. And that's all I'm looking for there is for them to get an understanding of how to shoot their hips, unravel their hips, apply pressure, and going forward. That was a good step. Let's do one more. Loaded, shin angle here, opposite arm up. Good. Now I'm gonna ask Lane to give me a bad rep here. And the rep that I want him to do is I want that shin angle to be straight up here. I'm gonna have him roll into it, but I'm gonna have him try to jump out. I'm gonna have him try and take a big step. And so you guys can see what that step looks like in here. And what you hear is more of a deceleration, okay? Can you give that to me? So even though this step may be bigger, it may be longer, it's not gonna be more efficient here. Good. And so you see a little dirt kicked up there. And again, that's why we're trying to create so much of that piston action to drive down and back to make him more effective here, okay? 2 to 3 reps goes a very long ways here, always starting and stopping, coming back off of that. If you're really only worried about that start, you don't need to go towards 20s, 30s. 5 yards is enough, 10 yards is enough to work on those first 2 steps.